Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about skilled champions and more specifically top 5 skilled champions in the game currently in my personal opinion. Again, objective disclaimer, this video is not meant to serve as some sort of bible or guide. This is my personal thoughts about champions, and obviously they are influenced by my personal experiences, by my personal, preferences, so on and so forth. So I am fully willing to accept the fact and even further than that, I'm fully expecting that many different people would value these champions quite significantly in different orders, so on and so forth. However, that being said, it's July already, so we have spent a bit more than half a year since I last did these top 5 videos. I already released tech video for July, and now we're going on to the skill class. Now, skill class is arguably currently the weakest class in the game, in my opinion. There are only like 2 champions that are kind of like shining at the top of the skill class, and everything else below those 2 champions is quite significantly much lower, as in, like, not that they're bad champions, not that there's anything wrong with them, just simply to put in comparison, for instance, the champions you yourself would personally want to take to rank 3 and 6 stars under ideal conditions. In skill class, I believe for vast majority of the people, there's only like Aegon and Nick Fury if you put prestige aside. And in many other classes, there are far more of these champions. Like in science, we have, stacked. We have Thing, Human Torch, Void, Captain America, Infinity War, so on and so forth. So Red Guardian, there are a lot more champions in other classes. So unfortunately, I do think that skill has kind of like fallen behind, and the latest additions to the skill class, which would be Squirrel Girl, Mole Man, HitMonkey, Black Widow, Deadly Origin, didn't really do much to kind of like shift the meta of skill. But all that being said and put aside, let's start off with spot number 5. And spot number 5 is still tethering to Blade. Now, I'm not even entirely sure whether he will survive another half a year in top 5 position. I'll tell you that much, because he's barely kind of like hanging in there. On the other side, I do think that Blade's biggest problem currently is that she's being overlooked and people are passing him by without giving him as much attention that he does deserve. There are still many great things that he can do, and especially for younger and progressing players when you go in Act 5, so on and so forth, because any single content that was effectively released Act 5 and prior to that point, Blade absolutely shreds and destroys. Now, unfortunately, Blade is nothing particularly valuable for most of the variant content, just because he's not extra large, just because he's not a tech champion. And the skill and mutant chapter in variant 1 is the first one, so you need kind of like the least amount of stack champions to deal with that. So variance is not where Blade shines for sure. Act 5 is where he shines, and he can do a decent amount of job in IQ and potentially in some matchups of AW as well. But the point is, I think Blade has still some very unique qualities about him. The way he gains power, the way his level 1 works, where you can ignore glancing, for instance, for whatever reasons, and that heal. And I still think that Blade is worth taking a look at, definitely, if you are currently progressing through the content. Now, if I were to pull Blade today, would I take him to rank 5? Probably not, but that's only kind of like in the light of all other options that I personally have. All in all, I still think that he is a very solid champion that I should probably do a revisit for and kind of like take him up against a lot of Act 6 stuff and so on and so forth. And I think part of the Blade's downfall and problem with Blade is that champions like Ghost Rider and Stark Enhanced Spiderman also have significantly lost their value, in addition to Blade himself. And as we all know, that Blade does need these synergies quite frequently in order to perform at his best. Therefore, they have kind of fallen off the radar as a trinity altogether, because all 3 of them have somewhat gotten outdated, and all 3 of them relied on the presence of each other. And whether I would want today to dedicate 3 champion slots for this trinity in most of the conditions, no. But when it comes to Act 5 and a lot of stuff in there, quite possibly yes. Anyways, that's enough for Blade. He got a couple of backhanders, but still, he's in his 5th spot. Right, let's move on to spot number 4 then. Spot number 4, I'm gonna give it to Night Rusher. I know many people don't like Night Rusher, many people haven't actually bothered too much about Night Rusher, but for me personally, Night Rusher has put in so much work in AQ in many different places of the game, in some questing content, and the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, he's absolutely fantastic champion that has a limited kind of like set of abilities, but what he does it very well. He gains power much quicker every time he dexes under bar power, therefore he's able to spam special attacks quickly to ramp himself up, so he doesn't have a long and excruciating ramp up process. He has very solid and stable access to taunt. He has very solid and immediate access to true strike, true accuracy, therefore he's able to bypass evade and things like that. Also gain these amount of furies, incinerate immunity, quite stacked on defense. He just seems to fit the right conditions for right circumstances, and obviously if you pair him up with a couple of synergies with Guillotine and Dark Hawk, and now we have a couple other synergies like with Silver Surfer, I think, and a few more champions can do some really insane damage, and I mean really insane damage. But that huge damage potential put aside, I think that Night Rusher's kind of like downfall is the fact that he requires like a leap of faith, and he does require that signature level to be 200, because that does significantly impact how easy it is to play him and what his damage output is going to be. And damage is such an important thing in MCOC, and unfortunately without his awakened ability he has no access to those furies, and he basically has no access to any worthwhile damage at all whatsoever. So all that being said, if you are somebody who like Night Rusher, who happen to have him duped, play about with him, perhaps you're going to find something that you definitely enjoy, and keep in mind that the higher his signature level is, the harder he will end up hitting. And yeah, I have personally found him to be a very useful champion. There is quite a large amount of videos on my channel with Night Rusher in Labyrinth of Legends and Map 7, in many different places, a couple of reviews, so on and so forth. So feel free to check him out if you want to learn more about him, but I personally hold him in quite high regard. Obviously he's no Nick Fury or Aegon. Oh my, did I give away the top spots? Just kidding. Anyways, we're gonna move on to spot number 3, and I think it's gonna come as no surprise that spot number 3 is gonna go to Stealth Suit Spider-Man. Now, initially, I was quite cold to Stealth Suit Spider-Man, and in fact, I'm just gonna come out and clean. I'm not the biggest fan of spider heroes in this game, period, as they were released. I always found OG Spider-Man obviously annoying and crappy champion. Then we had Miles Morales, Symbiote Spider-Man. Spider-Gwen was a meme for the longest time. Now, after the rework, I really do like Spider-Gwen. And I was never a big fan of Stark Enhanced Spider-Man either. However, Stealth Suit Spider-Man does have some redeeming qualities. And the first and foremost, the biggest thing that I do like about him, obviously, is his access to slow. And he's one of those champions that can access slow without needing to drop a heavy attack and without needing to land heavy attack. So he is arguably one of the best champions with slow access for stun immune fights, for instance. And that is quite a big thing. Obviously there is a downside of it, because quite frequently it is close to impossible to land a full combo on a champion if he has like a very high chance to evade attacks. Therefore, you cannot actually get that slow on. So there are obviously downsides to that. But I think there have been quite a lot of circumstances when he has proven himself to be a very reliable slow champion, and slow debuff and access to slow in general in this game, in my opinion, is extremely valuable due to the nature of Kabam and how much fun and interactive evades and how much fun and interactive unstoppable buffs we have to deal with daily, and slow is by far the best answer to both of those mechanics. Additionally, his slow also prevents you from missing the attacks, which can come in handy for sure. And all of that being said, I think another thing that enables Stealth Suit Spider-Man to perform as well as he does is the fact that his own buffs are passive. So that Fury is passive and that Precision is passive. Therefore, you are not bothered by all the kind of like nullify abilities, by fisticuffs, by pilfereds, by many different other mechanics in the game, because those passive abilities will kind of like always trigger and cannot be nullified, and those buffs cannot be done away with. So yeah, I think overall I have been growing on him more and more. I have been using him here and there. He's definitely not a champion that I will kind of like bring in my questing team by default, but as a specialty attacker when that slow is needed, he is working fantastic. Obviously, when I created my mini account, he was like the first good 4-star that I pulled, and he put in an insane amount of work for my mini account as I was progressing through the game. So that is also where he has earned some credit in my personal opinion. I think I included him in my personal top 5 previously as well. Don't exactly remember whether he was 3rd or 4th, but he was somewhere in there. But now I can quite confidently say that in my opinion he is the 3rd best skill champion in the game. And this is where the story gets complicated, right? Because we have Nick Fury and we have Aegon. Obviously, I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that they are the 2 best skill champions. For me personally, I value Nick Fury higher, and that is not to simply say that I think Nick Fury necessarily is far better champion or better champion than Aegon is. Quite on the opposite. Purely when you look at the abilities, I think that Aegon obviously has far more potential. The reason why I put Nick Fury ahead of Aegon in majority of my personal evaluations is the reason that Nick Fury helps me so much more than Aegon does in my day-to-day. When it comes to a W, when it comes to a Q, when it came to like casual lanes in Act 6, even though Aegon queued in on Act 6 quite well as well in 6.3 and 6.4, but overall Nick Fury is definitely far more useful day-to-day for kind of like an endgame content. Now, Aegon on the other hand is far more important for these big cornerstones. So I do think that Aegon is the best skill champion for young and progressing players in the game currently, because Aegon will be the champion that enables you best to overcome these big hurdles, to overcome Labyrinth of Legends, to overcome Abyss of Legends, to overcome X, Y, or Z. Nick Fury is best to have when you already have done that, and my personal opinion. So if you were to compare these 2 champions, both of them are like beautiful top of the range supercars, right? The difference between them would be that Nick Fury is street legal, and you can use Nick Fury's supercar, whatever, driving to the shops, driving to your friends, driving about every day. In order to kind of like get the best out of Aegon, you need to go to a racetrack, in this case Labyrinth of Legends or Abyss of Legends or specific lanes in Act 6. And then yes, Aegon will have, let's say, somewhat higher top speed. He will maybe handle somewhat better than Nick Fury does. But the point being is, you will not be able to do that day to day because he will not be a road legal car that you can drive about. So I guess that is how I would personally compare Aegon and Nick Fury. That yeah, both of them are like great supercars, but Nick Fury is a street legal one. Aegon is slightly faster, slightly better, but it's not street legal. Therefore, you cannot enjoy it day to day. And yeah, obviously, like what else I can say about Nick Fury? I don't think I have to say much. Basically, everybody has showcased the videos. I have like a 60 hit Labyrinth of Legends Red Hulk kill with a rank 3 6-star Nick Fury. Aegon is the horseman for Abyss. Even though Nick Fury is also extremely important for Abyss, Aegon is more important for Abyss. So both of them are very kind of like close and similar level. But due to Nick Fury's synergies, due to his ability to heal up champions with suicide masteries, due to his own abilities and his insane short kind of like fight damage output, and that second life mechanic, I personally value Nick Fury higher. So Nick Fury to me is number 1, Aegon is number 2. Now, before I finish out the video, I wanted to give a couple of shoutouts of champions that I think are quite criminally underrated in the game. And first and foremost, it will be Elsa Bloodstone. I think Elsa Bloodstone is absolutely wonderful champion. The more I kind of like play about with her, and especially now with the new synergy that Tigra has with Elsa, she is such a beast because her incinerates and her other debuffs stay up for longer, so you can stack more of them up, so your damage goes up quite significantly. Additionally, if you play her Suicide Masteries, opponents start the fight heal blocked and degenerate, and yeah, I think Elsa is quite heavily slept on, partially by me as well, because I haven't taken that leap of faith to taking her up to rank 5 and Awakened yet. I do think that I will do it at some point. I just need to find a good appropriate time when I can allocate the catalyst to do so. But I definitely want to play about it Elsa a bit more. And the last champion that I want to talk about would be HitMonkey. Now, I'm fully willing to accept that HitMonkey might edge out Nick Fury or Night Thrasher and land somewhere in top 5. Now, I personally have very, very limited experience with HitMonkey. I do have him as a 4-star champion. I have done a couple of fights. Obviously, I have made videos about him, but that's not enough for me to kind of like properly evaluate him and put him on the top 5 list for now. I do think that he has quite a lot of good things going on for him, but I think he will suffer from the problem of actual applications in these fights, because he's quite fragile. I don't know that his utility will suffice to let his damage output shine in plenty of scenarios, because obviously he has quite good damage output. I'm not even going to try and deny that, but at the same time, damage can get you just that far. It's extremely important, and the more damage you have, typically the less you kind of like need in the utility department. But I just don't find all that much in HitMonkey's utility department. When you would describe him, he's quite good await counter, but there are far better champions that counter await. He can shrug off debuffs quite well, but there are champions who can do it far better. So in a sense, it's again still in my head kind of like a disease from Ronin. It's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, with above average damage. So I just don't think he will find all that dominant space in my offense of champions. I do think he's great, fun champion though. That being said, this is about it. So we have done now skill and tech champion videos. Next one is going to be cosmic, because tech, skill, and cosmic I personally perceive to be 3 of the weaker classes in MCOC currently. And then we're gonna head on to science, mystic, and mutant classes. And then, but all that being said, if you still made it this far, then here will be some baby Yoda for you, whilst you are mesmerized by the beauty of this small green force sensitive creature. Please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button, share this video with your friends, share this video with your alliance mates, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.